You will keep sabotaging your progress until you understand this about identity. So that's not because you lack understand this about identity. So that's not because you lack discipline, it's not because you lack motivation, and it's not laziness, so you can relax. Just stay with me and let me explain this to you. It's more about your nervous system. So your nervous system is loyal to who you think you are. Okay, it's very loyal to your self-image. And let me explain this as well. You have seen this so many times. I'm sure you have heard about it. People who had nothing, they get a lot of money suddenly, and then they go back to being broke, and they had all the opportunities to really change their life, but they go and they spend it all. Some people are thinking, how can they do that? They could have changed their life, but they didn't. Or people who get in shape and then they get out of shape again. Or people who feel really confident and then they lose their confidence. You know why? Because we do rise, but then we return. So, why does fear stay? Even after therapy, hypnosis, visualization, journaling, there's always like this fear in the background. That's not self-sabotage. That is because you have a protection, identity protection within you. And identity protection lives in the nervous system. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep looping the same behaviors, the same thoughts, and the same outcomes. So there is this identity thermostat, and you have your system that has a thermostat, and it's not just financially, it's not just emotionally, but identity wise. So think of it as a thermostat. Okay, I'm just gonna try to make this simple. If you rise to your results too fast, then your system will be like, let's cool her down a little bit. This is not good. Or if you shrink too far, it brings you back down because your nervous system prefers stability over expansion. It's not about, it's harder to trick your nervous system into doing things because it likes stability. It doesn't like to be adventurous and be like, oh, let's go and do this. So here's the thing. Most people try to change their outcomes without dating their identity. They don't change the identity, but they want to change the outcome. I want to go there, I want to do this, and I want to do that. And they don't have the capacity to do so because their identity haven't even updated. So that creates spikes. The motivation goes up, the confidence goes up, action goes up, income goes up. But then your system is like, oh, I think something is wrong. And they call it bad luck when everything goes wrong again, if they go back to how they were before, or if things go not as they thought it would go. But that's not bad luck. That is your system trying to regulate every ups and downs that goes like, oh, now she goes again, let me take her down, and now she goes too down, so let me take her up again. So success can logically be really nice. Everybody wants success, but for some people it's really unsafe. I can even give you this example of myself back in the days. I remember I was sorry about that. I remember I was on a webinar and there was these two coaches and they did a quick little visualization, and we were supposed to sit there and visualize our best life. And I remember it to this day. And then they said, how does it feel? Feel that feeling. And you're supposed to go inside that feeling and embody that. I felt terrible. And I felt anxious. And I felt so weird. And this was the first time that ever happened to me. It really made me think, why would I feel anxious and weird and uncomfortable thinking about my best life? You know why? Because subconsciously I was afraid of that. So logically, nobody would say, why? You don't want to be in a good relationship, you don't want to have money or a good job, or you don't want to be happy. Yes, logically you do. But that was so weird. So I really had to work on that. And I realized that I wasn't actually afraid of failing. I was more afraid of succeeding, which is weird. But let me continue. So, some people can feel unknowingly that they don't deserve it, or they cannot have it, or the old identity kind of didn't really catch up to that idea. If I succeed, then I can't say I didn't get the chance. Or if I succeed, then I can no longer blame my past. So let's move on. I will explain this to you. Some people even hide behind potential. So they have 20 things, potential outcomes, potential projects, potential stuff. They have like so many things, and once they stop with one thing, they go over to another one and another one. It looks very productive and ambitious. But that, my dear friends, that's fear in another name. Behind potential. So excuses can feel really safe. I cannot do this because now I have this situation coming up and I have to do that and that. And somehow it makes you calm because you don't have to act on it, because you have an excuse, really. You don't have to do it, and that calms you down. So the nervous system always chooses safe over expanded. It doesn't like adventures, just as I said. So what happens? You rise and you rise and you rise, and then unconsciously that creates stress, conflict, distraction, doubt, and that pulls you back to the familiar. So you're right back to the same box as before. And a lot of people really blame themselves so much for this. They're like, I don't have enough willpower. I'm weak. I cannot do this. But it's actually because your emotional memory has not been updated. Okay, let me explain. Your identity hasn't expanded yet. Okay, it's still in the old identity. So fear doesn't really leave when we decide to do something. It's always there in the background lurking. When is she going to fall? When is she going to fall? Let me just scare her a little bit more by overthinking. Here's the thing, fear does not disappear because you decide to change. It doesn't. People think, on the other hand, when I feel ready, I will act. The clarity will come but you sometimes have to act before the clarity comes. And the identity does not work that way. Identity only shifts through repetition and under regulation. Let me repeat that. You need to repeat something and regulate it at the same time. So when you're repeating something, you also need to regulate your system so that it doesn't feel stressed. Okay, so you act, your nervous system reacts, you regulate your nervous system, you repeat, and that's how expansion becomes safe for you. It's like dipping your toes in the water, little by little by little, until you can jump into the water. So if you wait to feel ready, it's like you go into your old identity and ask if you can get some permission to do so. Your old identity will every time say, no, I don't want to. Your old identity is so relaxed. Think about it. You wake up, you drink your coffee, you go to the same job, you meet the same people, you know exactly what's going to happen. But now I want you to think about a situation when you have people calling you and they invite you to 5 different things. They're like, today we're going to go and go to explore this activity that you have no clue. Or when you travel to another country and you're supposed to meet someone somewhere, like you never went to that country, and now you're gonna take the bus and learn. And for some people, that's really fun. For me, on the other hand, it creates a little bit of excitement. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, let's move on. So why insight is not enough? If that would be the case, I cannot show you, but I have so many books here. So many books. Insight was enough. If I could just read, you should go to the gym because it's so good for your cells and your brain, the blood flow goes and blah, blah, blah. It would be enough for me to read that, and then I would be at the gym. No problem. If somebody said, this thing that you're eating is really unhealthy and it does this and this to your body, then you have the knowledge, you have the insight. Does it change? Do you stop liking that stuff? Not really. So I'm not gonna cut this out because I'm not gonna do this video again. Visualization can prime your system. Okay, it can prime it. It gives you the little dot in the water. And then therapy gives you the understanding that gives you the foot in the water. And then it's really some more tools that can be used to really regulate that nervous system. I have tried this. I don't teach stuff that doesn't work. I don't teach stuff that I cannot stand behind. I have worked all of this stuff on myself. That's how I started to work with this. It was so effective that I thought to myself, wow, how can this be so easy once you understand it? People are talking about nervous system, the brain cells, blah, 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 neurotransmitters. You don't need to know all that. You just need to simply know that you need to regulate your system, and you get it, and you need the tools to do so that when you are in the situation you can actually do it. You can go to a therapist for like 5-10 sessions just to really take out the garbage that we all accumulate. We all have that garbage. You need to go in and see what kind of trauma is it, what kind of experiences are there, like all the garbage. You take all the garbage out first. Then you clean the surfaces, you vacuum, you do all of this stuff. Like you take out the most smelly things first. And that is important to do maybe with a therapist, with hypnosis, with some other tools that regulates the nervous system. But after that, your therapist will not hold your hand for the rest of your life. You need to learn this stuff. You need to do this on a daily basis because you're going to react to things. So that's what I do. That's how I learned to do it. And now I teach other people to do the same. So let's move on. So if your daily behavior still confirms your old identity, the way you speak about yourself, the standards that you tolerate, the boundaries you avoid, the risk that you shrink from or avoid, that means that your nervous system watches repetition but not intention. So let me explain that. Your nervous system likes repetition because even repetition becomes at some point familiar, right? We said that the nervous system likes familiarity. And if you do something often enough, your nervous system is like, I never tried coconut milk in my coffee, but now that I've tried it like 3 times, I actually start to like it. That's how you trick your nervous system. Let's move on. So this is repetition tells the nervous system, this is who we are now. We like coconut milk in our coffee. That's what we do now. So that means that you have now regulated your nervous system. So your nervous system doesn't freak out when you put a little bit of coconut milk in your coffee. So you also, with that, you update the emotional memory. So now your nervous system is thinking, yeah, I once had milk with coconut milk and it wasn't that bad. So now we have updated that memory. And then we stabilize the nervous system by saying, relax, milk is milk, coconut, oat milk, soya milk, what else is there? Cow milk. Milk is milk. You're just telling your nervous system, relax, it's just milk. That's how the nervous system is regulated, by being exposed, and then you repeat and then you make it calm. So familiarity over happiness. Your system, as I told you before, prioritize familiarity. It's like, think of your nervous system as this rigid person who needs to have their pen over here, their coffee over here, did I say phone? The phone over there. And if you move it slightly, it will be like, it will freak out. Think of your nervous system as a person who is like that. It will be easier. Okay, let's go on. So even if the nervous system, it takes a long time and a lot of stress to make all of these rules, and it maybe gives you anxiety, and familiarity gives, maybe your familiarity is anxiety. Maybe that's all you know. Maybe all you know is conflicts because that's what you grew up with, or anxiety because you always felt unsafe, or what else? Sadness, but you're so used to it. So your nervous system doesn't really freak out. So even if familiarity is playing small, having anxious or struggle, your nervous system will be like, yep, I like that. I like old stuff. I like antique stuff. Give that to me. I do not like this new technical stuff. So unpredictability feels really unsafe for the nervous system. Now you see the nervous system as a person, which makes it maybe easier for you to understand than somebody saying your nervous system. What does that mean? Is it a place? Is it a system? Is it hormones? What is it? You consciously can normalize the new level long enough. So here's the thing. If your nervous system is the way it is, you can make it normal, as I said, with the milk in the coffee, and that will eventually be normal for the nervous system. So the nervous system will actually be like, you know what, where is that milk? I would like to have some coconut milk in my coffee. Now you have made your nervous system change, and that's actually really good. Wow, this is a long video. Okay, we're gonna say follow for more and I will explain this in depth. Okay, bye.